What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. I'm Bryce, and today we're in chapter 48 of the Parker Inheritance. Let's begin. Chapter 48. Candace's father arrived in Lambert that evening. He jumped on the road immediately after talking with her mother. Candace had prepared dinner for them. Very little of it burnt, but they barely touched their food. She had explained everything that happened over the summer, but they seemed to struggle with processing the information. From what I can tell, this James Parker guy was rich, like millionaire rich, her father said. You're telling me you kids found all of his money? Found all of his money. I don't know. That's why we're going back to the bank tomorrow. I wish you had told me what was going on, her mother said. I could have helped. She was my mother. She rested her head in her hands. I can't believe this is happening. I'm sorry, Mom, Candace said. She wanted to fast forward through this part. I wanted to tell you, but I thought you'd tell me to stop. I would have, she said, just like I told her 10 years ago. Anne, don't beat yourself up, her father said. He looked like he wanted to reach out to her, but he didn't. But you should have told someone, Candy. Me, your mom, Brandon's mother, any adult. No offense, Dad, but Brandon and I did pretty okay by ourselves. And Tori helped. Tori's not an adult, her father replied. What if this turns out to be a sham? Candace shrugged. There are worse ways to spend the summer. Don't be glib, Candy. I'm not. She sat up taller. And please don't call me Candy anymore. Her father shook his head. What happened to our baby girl? She grew up. Her mother stood from the table and picked up her plate. If you've been paying attention, you would have realized Candace hates it when you call her that. You never notice how she flinches every time you call her Candy? Candace hadn't even realized she's been doing that. And Dad, did you know we've been messing up the lyrics to September this whole time? I didn't know until Brandon told me. Her father coughed. Oh, is that right? He kept his eyes on his plate instead of looking at her. Wait, you knew? He gave her a sheepish grin. Candy, Candace, she said. He sighed. I'm sorry, sweetheart. It's just, you were so cute. I didn't have the heart to tell you when you were younger, and it seemed harder to correct you as you got older. The way I saw it, it was like our little secret, our little joke. Except the joke was only on me, Candace said. It's not a big deal, he said. It's only a song. Dad, I'm not a baby anymore. You don't have to lie to me all the time. Enough, her mother said. Candace waited for her mom to chide her for talking to her father like that. Instead, she placed her arm on her dad's shoulder. She's right, Joe. She's not a baby. Her voice was soft, almost like a blanket. Talk to her. It'll be okay. She leaned over and kissed her dad on the forehead. It was almost like old times. Okay, what was that about? Candace asked after her mother left the room. Her father pushed his food around on his plate. Nothing, sweetheart. Your mother just wants everyone to be happy. I'm happy, she said, and I think Mom is too. Her father cut into his chicken breast. I said kitchen breast. What's a kitchen breast? A chicken breast. Dad, is something wrong? Are you not happy? She asked. Are you sick? No, I'm fine, really. Is it about Danielle? He put down his utensils. Who? Danielle. I overheard you and Mom talking about her, and before you start, she already scolded me about eavesdropping, Candace said. Anyway, I know you started wearing a new cologne. That circus scent. I said circuit. What's a circus scent? A citrus scent. Is it to impress her? He frowned. That's not cologne. That's special cleaner for my hands. Helps to get grime off. Candace picked up one of her dad's hands and brought it to her nose. It still smelled citrusy, but not as strongly as before. The scent was still familiar. She tried to remember where she smelled it before. Did you use this at home? She asked. He pulled his hand away. Probably some of the crew at the house used it. It's pretty standard in home construction. That was enough to jog her memory. She smelled it at the house. in the kitchen when her mother was arguing with Daniel, the contractor. Okay, so it's not cologne. Does that mean you're not seeing anyone? Her father tried to smile, but his face seemed so tired. Dad, please? Lord, I'm not ready for this, he said. I plan to tell you when you're older, when you are ready, or more like when I was ready. He paused for a moment, and the lines grew even deeper on his brow. His eyes shifted from Candace to the table. I'm not seeing someone named Daniel, not Danielle, but I'm seeing someone. He shook his head. It's funny how it's hardest to talk to the people you love the most. Facts. She reached out her hand again. Her father took it. Candace found herself thinking about what Miss Jones had said, how people saw what they wanted to see, especially when it came to family. She thought about her mother wanting her father to be happy, even if she couldn't be the person to provide that happiness. She thought about how she could never go over to her father's apartment without calling first, although it never seemed like another woman had been there. She thought about the scent on his hands, strong and citrusy, the same smell as the contractor that her mother seemed to hate. It was like a puzzle with all the pieces finally in place. Mom didn't say Danielle, did she? Candace said quietly. He shook his head. She took a breath. Daniel. His head moved a fraction of an inch, but it was a nod. You're gay? She asked it like a question, even though she already knew the answer. Why didn't you tell me? I didn't want you to see me any differently. I wanted you to still see me as dad. You'll always be my dad. He squeezed her hand. Just so you know, nothing happened between me and Daniel until after your mother and I separated. He scratched his beard with his free hand. It was probably a bad idea to have him work on the house. He gave us a great discount on materials and labor, but I think I was asking too much of your mom. Part of me believed that if she met him, if she liked him, she would understand. Yeah, Dad, not smart at all. Your mom reminds me every time I talk to her about how bad of an idea that was. That's why we brought in another crew to finish the house. At least now I understand why we had to move so far away from home. I'm glad it wasn't just because of those stupid tiles. Language, Candace. She rolled her eyes. You're kind of not in any position to criticize right now. Then she smiled, and he smiled back. Are you mad at me? He asked. It's okay if you are. I mean, yeah, I'm mad at you that you didn't tell me. That would have been that you've been lying to me for I don't know how long, and that you forced mom to work with Daniel. I didn't force her, fine, strongly encouraged her. Candace said. But no, I'm not mad that you're gay. His entire body relaxed. I'm so glad to hear that, but again, it's okay if you're mad now or later. It might be hard for you to practice. I said practice. How can you practice somebody? That makes no sense. Picture me dating a man. Candace's stomach flipped. Okay, you're right. That is weird, she said. But it'll also be strange to see you another dating another woman. I guess I don't want to picture you with anyone except mom. You realize that will never happen. Me and your mother, she nodded, I know. But as she said it, she realized that somewhere down deep, she had hoped they'd somehow get back together, that they would wake up one morning and realize they wanted another chance, a second chance, but that was impossible. Her father released her hand. I think it would be good for you to walk with Dr. Patton again when you get back home. You know, 2 of the teachers at school are gay, and a lot of my favorite authors are gay. Like the guy who wrote the books about the raccoons. Her father tilted his head. I didn't know that. Yeah, it's not that big of a deal. It is at work. The construction business is light years behind the rest of society. So are Milo and his friends. Candace wanted to say, can you quit? She asked. A discussion for another time. He picked at the chicken on his plate. You're taking this a lot better than I thought you would. Any other questions? She shrugged, then asked, Did you always know you were gay? Maybe. I'm still trying to figure that out. But I always loved your mother, just not in the way she needed to be loved. And I always wanted a perfect daughter. And now I have one. Candace took a deep breath. It was like the citrus from his hands and the lavender from Grandma's walls were mixing together, at least in her head, the past and present all jumbled up. In some ways, her father was like Reggie Bradley. He got everything he wanted, but at a horrible price. It happens. He had to hide his real self. She had been at her father's office enough to hear some of the crude jokes. How did it feel to listen to things like that every day? Knowing the people you worked with thought horrible things about who you really were? Her father stood up from the table. What about Brandon? Do you do you still think he's gay? I don't know for sure, but I don't think it really matters, Candace said. Her father winked. That's my girl. And that was chapter 48. So tomorrow we'll be doing chapter 49. And that's about it. Peace out.